Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon with Great Falls, Montana Tourism. We're getting ready for camping season, exploring season here in North Central Montana, and that includes our friends at Glacier National Park. We're bringing back Gina Kerzman to break down some information for us. We talked with her earlier about the vehicle reservation system. Now we want to give you an idea if you're camping inside the park, break down that information for you, help make some decisions on what you're doing this summer. So Gina, thanks so much for joining us again.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, so let's talk camping. This is something I've been to Glacier many times. I've never camped in Glacier, so I have a lot of questions. Hopefully, we'll be able to give people some answers here. So first off, how many campgrounds are there in Glacier?
We have 13 campgrounds throughout the park.
Okay, of those 13, let's break down what you need a reservation for, or how many you need a reservation for, versus first come, first serve.
Sure, 7 of our campgrounds are available under the reservation system. And in order to reserve those campsites, you have to go on recreation.gov to make those reservations. And then we have 6 campgrounds that are first come, first serve.
Okay. For first come, first serve, that literally means you got to get there, be the first one to those sites. And that looks a little bit different depending on which site that you're at. So how does that work then with the vehicle reservation system and trying to get in for first come, first serve for camping sites?
Sure. So the first come, first serve sites, most of them are located in the North Fork area of the park. And the North Fork is under a vehicle reservation system. However, if you decide you want to camp at, say, Bowman Lake, Kintla Lake, Quartz, or Logging Creek campgrounds up in the North Fork, all you would do is pull up to the entrance station, let the rangers there know that you are interested in a campsite, and they can tell you whether or not there are campsites available for that day and set you up right there at the entrance. For some of the other campsites, so Cut Bank is always a first come, first serve. You don't need to do anything for that. It's not under the vehicle reservation system. The one tricky one we have is Rising Sun, which is on the east side and on the Going to the Sun road. Rising Sun is the checkpoint where we start checking for vehicle reservations, but the campground is just inside of that checkpoint. So if you are looking for a first come, first serve reservation at the Rising Sun campground, what you'll want to do is either go in before 6 a.m. when the reservation system is in place or after 3 p.m. Another option is to park there at the Rising Sun area before the checkpoint site and walk into the campground and reserve your campsite that way.
Okay. And that's just a short walk for anyone who's like, how far is that? It's just a short walk to park and then try to walk in and do that, right?
Yeah, it's not too far of a walk. It's much shorter than most of our hiking trails that you'll be on.
Perfect. And then for the ones, the campsites that are attached to Going to the Sun road, you do then get to, as long as you're staying at the campsite up to 14 days, you can then also have access to Going to the Sun road for every day you're staying at the campsites, correct?
Correct. So if you have a campsite that you've reserved through recreation.gov, you use that vehicle or that campsite reservation in lieu of a vehicle reservation to access Going to the Sun road. And you can access Going to the Sun road for the length of that reservation, for the length of your stay. And you just present that reservation along with your identification at the entrance.
And just to clarify also, for example, Mini Glacier Campground, you can't access Going to the Sun road from Mini Glacier. So in that case, if you're camping at Mini Glacier, you would then also need a vehicle reservation if you wanted to access Going to the Sun.
Right. Okay. The separate valleys that we have, North Fork, Mini Glacier, and Two Medicine, are all under a vehicle reservation system. They are all separate from Going to the Sun road. They don't connect. The roads don't connect. So if you have a campsite reservation at Mini Glacier, that's great. That gets you in without a vehicle reservation to get to your campsite. But it does not allow you access to Going to the Sun road. So you would want to secure a vehicle reservation or go in before 6 or after 3.
Okay, great. So just know the area that you're going to and know what you want to do while you're in Glacier so you can plan accordingly. So let's talk about the different types of camping. Some people tent camp, some camp in their car, some have big RVs or trailers. Let's talk about what's allowed at those campsites and where you can go and what campsites kind of do allow for what.
Yeah. The ones that you reserve under recreation.gov, it's set up really nice where you can actually see a snapshot of that campsite, and it will tell you what the restrictions are, how many tents you can have there, what type of, if you can have an RV. Some of them are restricted in length. A vehicle can't be longer than, say, 21 feet, just because the campsite is small. So you'll want to definitely pay attention to that. And some of them say that you can't have a trailer in that site because there just simply isn't enough room, or whatever the restrictions are. So pay really close attention to that. And on our website, we have information about that as well. But for the reservable ones, recreation.gov will have that information. One thing that you want to keep in mind is sometimes during the summer, we will have to restrict our campgrounds to hard side only because of bear activities. So for example, Mini Glacier, almost every summer, we have a few days where there's bear activity, and we have to tell our folks that are in tents that they're going to have to either sleep in the car or make other arrangements, and because we'll have to turn it to hard side only. Our website will provide that indication. If you go on our campground webpage, you can hover over the campground and it will pop up and tell you what restrictions are in place.
Perfect. So keep an eye on that. Another question then, there's different types of campgrounds. There's regular campgrounds, primitive, and wilderness camping. What are the differences between those?
Yeah, great question. Wilderness camping is when you're hiking into the backcountry and you have to hike to that site. And those require a permit. You have to apply for a wilderness permit, and you'll have to submit an itinerary for your plans so that, if something happens, you don't show up for like say you have an appointment to meet with your friends when you come back out of the backcountry. And so we know where you're at, so we can know where to start searching if you don't show up when you're supposed to. They do require you to submit an itinerary. So that's wilderness camping. Primitive camping is when there isn't any running water available in the campground, but you'll maybe still have a vault toilet, but not running water, and a flushable toilet. Those are usually in the off season. So after, before Memorial Day weekend or after Labor Day weekend, some of our campsites go into primitive campsite. And then we have winter camping. We have a couple of places where campgrounds are available over the winter, and there's no charge for the winter camping. Apgar is one of the examples of our winter camping, and it's primitive status, but it's also called winter camping. So.
And you mentioned there no charge for that winter camping. What's kind of the price range for camping during, the summer season?
There's a variety of options for prices, but I would say that the charges are between $10 and $23.
Okay. And again, you can find that information on the website. Let's talk about, say I've booked a guided hike, maybe I'm doing a horseback excursion or another trip. Do I still need a vehicle reservation, and do I still need a park pass if I have an excursion booked? And obviously this is kind of a broad subject. You'll need to look specifically at yours, but just kind of from a broad perspective, what do I need if I've already booked an excursion with a company or with the Glacier Institute?
If you have a commercial service reservation, say a boat ride or a horseback ride, lodging reservation, you've booked an outdoor education class with Glacier Institute, you've scheduled a guided hike with Glacier Guides, all of those do not require a vehicle reservation. You will use your reservation for your commercial service in lieu of your vehicle reservation. So just present proof of that reservation at the entrance gate along with your identification. You're good to go.
Okay, great. Speaking of campers and RVs, going to the Sun Road, obviously a very popular reason why people go into the park. Can I take my camper, RV, my trailer? Is it a good idea? Can I take it on going to the Sun Road?
If you've ever been on going to the Sun Road, you know it is very windy. We've got some hairpin turns. and also a lot of cliff overhangs. So there are some length, width, and height restrictions for vehicles. You can't have anything over 21 feet long, and you can't tow anything over going to the Sun Road. There's a restriction on 8 feet wide because it is a very narrow road. So you definitely have to stay in your lane and can't, drift over into the other lane. And the height restriction is 10 feet. So if you're driving something taller than 10 feet, you may really want to reconsider driving over going to the Sun Road, because you might lose the top half of your vehicle on a cliff overhang.
Yeah, that would not be good. Also, it's a little bit scary when something that size is coming towards you on going to the Sun Road.
Yes.
You're on the cliff side. So
yes. And for those who are a little afraid of heights, you definitely don't want to be on the outside of the vehicle. And you may want to consider one of our free park shuttles, and then you don't have to drive at all.
yeah, it's a nice way to do it for sure. Finally, I think we've covered most everything. Can I bring my dog, my pet, with me inside when I'm camping in the park? Can I bring him when I'm going to the Sun, going to Lake McDonald? Where can they and can't they be?
Yeah, we love dogs at Glacier National Park. We just want to let people know that dogs are only allowed in the developed areas. So you can have them in the campgrounds, you can have them in Apgar Village, you can have them in your vehicle, driving, going to the Sun Road. The low guys just aren't allowed on trails. And if you are with your pet in some of those developed areas, you also need to have them on a leash.
And pick up after them, right? That helps too.
And pick up after them.
And don't leave them in the car if you decide to go hike on a trail.
Yeah, just be mindful of the temperatures and how warm it is outside. Sometimes it's not adequate just to leave the window cracked. We want to look out for our pet friends and make sure they're safe.
Anything else that we haven't covered or that you think we should know or people should know about heading to Glacier Park, or about camping, or about reservations? Anything that we haven't covered?
Whenever you're camping in Glacier National Park, you want to make sure and check the fire restrictions and whether or not you can have a campfire. Never leave a campfire unattended, of course. I think a lot of people know that, but it's always good to have the reminder. And you also want to make sure your food is properly stored so that wildlife, specifically bears, aren't able to have access to your food. Once a bear gets used to having that access to that food, then we have to do something about the bear. He either has to go live somewhere else, or in the very extreme senses, we'll have to euthanize bears. So we want to be sure and protect that wildlife so that we don't have to take those extreme measures. So if everybody can just make sure and follow the proper food storage protocols, that would be helpful to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gina Kerzman, I think that does it for us. Thank you so much for all your insight and information. We sure appreciate it.
Yes, always a pleasure.